It used to be taken for granted that the internet was just unquestionably the height of human technological achievement. All of us were really excited about it for different reasons, and some of them I'm not gonna say out loud because my mom watches these videos. It was the cat videos, Mom. That's all I'm looking at when I'm alone in the dark with all the lights off. A lot of the early enthusiasm for the internet has disappeared. Depending on who you ask now, it might be totally gone. Right about half of all people aged 16 to 21 now believe they'd be better off without it. According to a new survey conducted in the UK, a full 47% of the 1,300 people surveyed said that they'd rather have lived out their youth without the internet around. The British Standards Institution, or BSI, published the survey findings as part of their annual report for the International Organization for Standardization's Committee on Consumer Policy. This is a big nerdy meeting that happens every year for the organization that works to develop standards that are used by the whole world. And these can be anything from standards for cleaning medical devices to testing methods for electromagnetic radiation put off by vehicles in motion. The ISO came about in 1947, and it's the reason why we have freight shipping containers that are pretty much all the same size and shape. The new data came out a few months ago, and it digs much deeper with more specific findings. For instance, 68% of those surveyed said they feel worse after scrolling through their social media feeds. The fact that social media makes you feel bad isn't really new information, but the data on younger people who've grown up with it feeling that way is nice to have. You'd expect that since it's just kind of what they're used to, that they'd be able to tolerate it better. Turns out that is definitively not the case. And 50% of respondents said they'd support a time limit for social media use, physically forcing them out of their feeds in a kind of a curfew. Gallup did a study in 2023 that found US teenagers spend 4.8 hours on social media per day on average. So picture yourself taking the morning off work and then going into work, except your work is social media. And then you work in the rest of the day until you come home for dinner, and that's the amount of time younger people are spending on their feeds all day. The time increases for 17-year-olds. A full 62% of them spend 5.8 hours on social media per day. Other data reported by Exploding Topics, the SEMrush vertical, goes all the way up to 7 hours and 22 minutes per day. The amount of time is really important to note because just by itself, it comes with risk factors. Data from 6,500 participants in 2013 suggests that US teens who spend 3 hours a day on social media have a higher risk of experiencing mental health challenges. And a bigger study from the UK that tracked 12,000 teens found that if they use social media more than 3 times in a day, they'd be more likely to have negative psychological outcomes. The issue is so pervasive and troubling that in 2023, the US Surgeon General issued an advisory on the subject for the American public. It's full of citations and full of research, and you can check that out in the didgeridoodles below, along with all the sources for this episode. And while you're down there, do some serious thinking about liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Because if we have to use social media, you might as well stick to the parts that do some effing good and that have some extremely handsome people behind them. It's not just younger people who are in trouble. Everyone experiences the negativity that comes with the internet in some way. Yeah, social media is designed to be addictive and designed to suck you in and not let go and force you to spend hours at a time just looking at things you probably don't care about and won't remember seconds later. But that can happen on the larger internet too. I regularly go down information rabbit holes and look up from my screen hours later and wonder where the sun has gone. Everything is available to everyone at all times now, and if we don't have guardrails in our lives to keep it at bay, the internet can do a lot of damage. Especially now that over half of all internet traffic is artificial. Bot traffic and AI slop now make up over 50% of everything floating around in there. And I did a video on that a while back, and you can get the details in there, but the overall conclusion is that it's not a great situation and it's not going to end well. We really cannot tell what's real half the time, and that's not necessarily an exaggeration. As the Mayo Clinic points out, some social media usage can be positive. The internet isn't all bad, and I mean, not many things are. Younger people who don't have a lot of connections in their regular lives can reach out and find friends online. And kids who are figuring out their identities and are part of marginalized groups can find other like-minded people for support. Or those who have certain medical conditions that people around them don't understand. They can find healthy spaces to express themselves and learn things like emotional regulation and practice social interaction. But we need to have limits. Limiting social media use for college kids to 30 minutes a day was found to reduce symptoms of depression in just 3 weeks. These effects are real, and changing them only means building protections into your lives. The findings keep saying that the issue is nuanced and that there are a lot of questions that still remain. I think that what it just won't definitively say, or maybe can't say, is that this really is a case-by-case type of problem. Parents are going to have to do a lot of legwork here. Teachers and other authority figures who spend a lot of time with kids too. You're going to have to know what your kids are doing online, and you're going to have to know what your kids are like and know if they can handle it. Look, kids have access to the entire world on the internet today. I got an anime in middle school that my mom bought for me, and when I watched that, I was like, holy cow, mom probably should have stopped me from getting this. But she didn't know anything about this thing, and what I'm saying is, the entire internet is that, just 6 bazillion times worse. This exact situation is potentially on every webpage, every social media post, and it's up to us to be involved in the lives of the younger people around us. Our family, our friends, our community, we're all resources for each other. You can't lock the kids away in a tower without internet, but you can make rational decisions based on their age and character, and the content that's out there and popular. Pay attention to what the data says, but know how to apply it to your own individual circumstances. That's how we get out of this alive. Younger people are literally telling us now that they need help to use these tools, or they need some kind of safety net that protects them from the negative aspects of the internet. I don't know exactly what that looks like, or even what it should look like. What I do know is what the evidence shows, and it's a problem that needs to be addressed by somebody. Now, nobody voted for me, and I'm not gonna be the one who fixes it. So let's encourage our representatives to tackle real human problems like this. And let's also encourage our 90-year-old politicians to get the hell out of office so we can elect younger people who understand things.
If I turn off his laptop, I said, oh, good. And I go back 5 minutes later, he's got his laptop. I said, how'd you do that?
And who can capably work up real solutions to modern problems. Let's do some good about the reasons why young people wish the internet was never invented. I'll see you in the next one. If the internet was never invented, I wouldn't be able to watch all these cat videos all alone, in the dark, at night. Because that's what I'm doing. That's what the internet's for. Everybody knows that. That's what Al Gore invented the internet for us to do.